Hey, we're live. And I love it when Emily says we're live because that means everyone is coming on in for our next edition of The Working Actor. How's everybody doing? It is Thursday. It is almost the weekend, and we've got another great interview in store for you on The Working Actor. Rosen is no stranger to the Casting Workbook family. We've had her on The Working Actor a couple of years ago, and now we are inviting her back again because she has launched her own podcast called Casting Confidential, where she sits with a bunch of casting directors and they really go in on what's going on in this industry and they kind of give you the inside scoop because they're all really good friends. And if you ever wanted to be that fly on the wall where you want to know what's on casting directors' minds, this is the podcast to be tuning into. But before you do, we have her here on The Working Actors so she can give us some insight on what's going on in the industry and what she's seeing that she's liking. So welcome Rose Rosen to The Working Actor.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you for having me. What a lovely intro. Yeah, season
Well,
two is coming in hot. So we're
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really excited.
Well, you deserve that intro and so much more. 3 decades in this industry and so much under your belt, so much accomplished in this industry. And it hasn't been easy. So I would want to applaud you, obviously, for all the work that you've been doing, especially out of Florida and nationwide. But tell me a little bit about how you see the industry these days and give us some hope and some positive feedback.
I want to hope. Uh,
Yes, I want hope.
okay, so go with the hope. All right. So we have been in really, really, really tumultuous time.
Yeah,
What has happened is I'll just wind back for our audience. We had the pandemic, which decimated the industry.
yeah,
And then we had uh, at least one, if not all the strikes. Let's just say that. Still more strikes are happening, right, in the gaming industry. And they didn't come at a time where anybody had any fuel to, like, nobody has money in the bank if you're not working through the pandemic and now you're not working because you're striking. And so nobody's working and people are doing whatever side hustle they can to survive.
right.
So great. We're seeing glimmers of things coming back. And what I can tell you from years of being in the business, we change. One solid thing that I know is change happens. And if you don't change, you die. The only thing I have that has kept me in business is that, I started with a camcorder and a VHS tape. I know that dates me, but that's, some lights from Home Depot. And that
Yeah.
was my casting studio, right? And then came along DVDs. And then, one client says to me one day, "Do you have an FTP site?" And I said, "Yes." I had no idea what that was. I had to deliver the casting the next day by 9 a.m. on his desk. I stayed up all night and went to the nearby film school, figured it out.
You did
Because
it.
right. So that's the point, is we are at an impasse. This business is changing. I think most people in the industry don't want or care for that. So they're pushing back, both casting directors, talent, crew, everybody. They don't want the change that is happening. And if you don't want it and you won't grow with it, you will be unemployed. You will
Yeah.
go do anything else because you're not meant for this. And most people aren't meant for it, right? So, long story short, is the business is changing. It always has changed.
Mhm.
If you cannot change and grow, leave.
Mm.
Positive and negative. I'm
I know
sorry.
I love that. I love the realness and the truth to that because you're absolutely right. If you are not evolving with what is going on, the landscape has changed immensely. I was just over at TIFF and I was like in a hospitality suite with a whole bunch of journalists, right? Some of us don't even have camera crews because we're using this for technology, like you said. And we were just talking about, oh, what are you doing now? And someone's best answer was, I'm evolving. And I thought
That's beautiful.
that was such a great answer because
That's it.
we're all evolving with what's going on in the industry and we're all trying to
Right.
figure out how to navigate it. So I love the fact that you started this off with realness because that's what we want. We want the truth. But I
You're
did
not going to get anything different from me.
I love it. I love it. But I do feel like I'm feeling like things are getting back to normal, if that normal does exist anymore. And that, we are seeing, the movies are coming back and the auditions are coming back and productions, I'm seeing them everywhere where there's like trailers and movies are being shot. So I do see that there are things that are being produced and we are getting back to the way it used to be, but we're just still auditioning virtually.
And that's going to stay there.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. I think callbacks could be via Zoom, still virtually. Um, so many people have moved out of any of the bigger markets and we're shooting Albuquerque of the last 2 or 3 movies I've done.
Yeah.
Whatever. We're shooting all over the world. We're casting all over the world. And sometimes, yeah, you want local, certainly for some of the parts. But we have the software, thank God. That's the difference between my VHS tapes. I didn't have this. You're like, I mean, like when the casting software came out, I'm like, thank you. It was, it's the answer to my problems. We all know I'm the hugest advocate for casting software, and casting were all of them. Honestly, I
Yeah.
tell everybody, do it all. But you guys, like do it all, do everything free, and then get involved and pay for one or two that are that are working for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a website? Do you have, like what are the tools within that site that bring you to, okay, I can pay for that. This seems reasonable. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a longer talk.
So we have a lot of people that are joining us and I love it. I'm seeing people from Vancouver, from Panama, from Toronto, from London, which is amazing. If you are joining us and you do want to ask Rosen some questions, put those questions in the chat and I'll get to it, actually in the Q&A, and I'll get to it in a while.
Utah.
First of all, I want to just get to know Rosen a little more because I read your bio and I thought it was great because your first gig in casting was a little movie called Edward Scissorhands with Johnny Depp. And
Isn't
I'm
that
thinking,
funny?
isn't that, and I mean, casting wasn't even your first choice as a career. It was design. It was interior. What was it? It was fashion design, right?
No, it was like styling for like commercials, like stills and moving commercials, that kind of thing. So I do wardrobe and makeup and casting just as part of it, like kind of full production for that kind of thing. So
So
I
you
learned a lot.
So you learned obviously this is a big movie that you have to cast for, and it's shooting in Central Florida. So tell me a little bit about that experience and how it led you to where you are today.
I mean, yeah, when I moved to Florida back then, I it wasn't translating what I did, the styling. So I'm sitting in a talent agent's office one day. She says, "You should be a casting director," literally because the casting director in town was mean. They're like, "You can do better than that." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm nice," like so. I build my business on being nice and treating talent with respect and kindness, and I mean that's just important to me. And she was just one of those people that would just rip your headshot into
Oh,
if you had it stapled wrong, right? This is very old timey casting. Yeah, there's the relationship with talent and casting is very complicated, to say the least. You guys, our relationship to the world is very complicated. That's why I do the podcast. I know I'm going way off course here, but the thing is, like we were respected and then feared, right, from people like that. And then like the pandemic came around and we were like, oh, we're sitting around, we're going to give you a lot of information. Then we became a little too accessible. And then talent, in my mind, felt a little too invasive. I needed to do this, right? So it's kind of both. I'm happy to do these kind of things. The 100 inbox messages I get a day saying, make me a star, are useless. I'm happy to tell you guys that. Please hear
Right.
that.
I
Right.
was
And
going
just
to ask,
emailing me out of the blue, you're
useless.
wasting your time. Useless. Email a talent agent. Maybe they will help.
Okay, I was going to ask you that eventually, but so, but the
I'm
fact that,
sorry.
oh no, that's good. So the fact, if people reach out to you, you're saying you're wasting your time because they should be reaching out to the talent agent, not the casting director.
I mean, what's the chance that I'm going to need your look that day, your talent skills that day? It's quite remote. And you think I'm just going to remember you because from an email or an inbox message on Instagram?
Mm.
I don't have that capability. Don't overestimate me. It's just too much, right? If you come into my room, if virtually, if I see, your tape within a project against other actors, that's what I do for a living, right?
Right.
If I see that, I will remember you for another project. If I see you come at me wild from the streets, not a chance. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you
Yeah.
work on your materials, work on getting an agent. Don't listen to the podcast.
Listen to the podcast, which is called Casting Confidential. And I know you've got a lot of episodes and we're going to talk about that. What made you want to launch the podcast? I mean, I'm sure you're very busy being a casting director. How do you have time to have a podcast and host a show now and talk about the industry?
I I wish I knew. Uh, so it's just like I said, it started during the pandemic. I did this YouTube show with Kim Swanson that had, quite a bit of appeal. And I would do these things with you guys, like I don't know. It seemed like the 100 messages that I get a day, at least I could tell them go here for an answer.
Oh, that's,
Right?
yeah.
Right? Like if I can tell, I mean, the podcast has a lot of views. So
Good.
brag.
Congrats.
Thanks. But go to the podcast and listen. And sometimes I'll even like occasionally, not always, but if you like inbox me and say, I've been listening to podcasts, I really like that. And I'm like, and they have a question about that. You're like, well, you should listen to episode 6 because we talked about that. But that's the whole thing. It's like if you're gonna come at anybody, literally in any business, figure out who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Give them a compliment that is meaningful within the business. Don't tell me I have great looking hair. Tell me I have a great podcast. I mean, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, do your research on how to charm you for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Can we talk
yeah.
can we talk about obviously you know so much about this industry. I mean, you've been in it for 3 decades and now you're having your own podcast. Um, Tell me a little bit about what stands out to you in an audition tape or when a talent walks into your office and does an audition. What stands out to you?
A good read. I mean, literally everything goes away when I hear the right read. Like if, I like talent to wear their shoes. That's a whole nother story. I like them to have a better background than I do today, but I'm here. And this is not an audition.
Yeah.
But so I want I it is obvious. I promise you. My skill set is almost small, right? Because it's like when you look at 100 reads with the same word,
Yeah.
promise you, you know which one is the right one.
Mm.
And then, and maybe there's 10 out of the 100 that are the right one. And then you know what I mean? It's not that complicated. So to get my attention, follow those directions and do it. Give me
Yeah.
something that's interesting, not too interesting. Too
Right.
interesting never gets it. Don't do the bold. This whole thing about the bold choice is way too complicated. I think that wording was ill-advised.
But there are actors though who are still intimidated by the whole casting process, right? And the whole audition,
Big actors,
right? And
absolutely.
Exactly. Even the ones that are still there, you call them working actors, but they're like making millions of dollars a movie, etc. But I
And
mean,
they all talk bad about the casting process. Oh, I hate casting. I hate auditions. It's so stilted. It's so foreign. It's a different skill set to do an audition than work as an actor within your job, the movie, the whatever it is you're doing, right? It's a whole different skill set.
so
Learn it.
what advice would you give to some of the actors who are intimidated by it still?
Take audition class, right? Like learn the skill set of auditioning. Know that if you're self taping, which 90% of the time you're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So quit complaining and just do it. I don't mean to be harsh, but it's not going to change. You saying, I want to go back in the room doesn't change that. And let's rewind back in the room. You say you want my feedback. In the room, maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 is going to get feedback from me. The rest of them is going to get this. I mean, I am
Oh,
busy
wow.
with the software, with the camera guy, the light, the technology. There's a lot happening there. And we're all human. Let's remember that. How much can you do? Right? So you think I'm focusing on you? I
No.
can tell you I am. I gotta make sure that your video is captured so my client can see you. And I can see you later. And guess what?
Right. Right.
Right? Only the self tape, you could do 50 takes. I don't recommend that, but that's the whole thing. You can do it. You have every control. You don't need my feedback. You really don't. And if you do, then get feedback from a friend.
Mm. Everything you,
Read the directions.
yeah,
Read.
everything you just said, I think every actor has been there going into an audition. And that's a movie scene in itself, what you just did as a casting director, where you're so busy doing so many things all at once, trying to get that shot right. And
Right.
how you just said, I'm going to watch it later. But if they have a great read, you are going to look up and notice them.
Maybe.
Oh, Rose, you're tough. You're so tough. Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, and if I'm working with technical stuff and just making sure listening and making sure, like is that going up? Like I don't trust anything. We all have like three different backup things. I had a different microphone today and I couldn't connect it. You know, like all of that stuff kind of throws us into not making sure that that is done. That's our job, right? I
Yeah.
picked you to be in the room. That's our job. Also, 60 people in a day, that's my job. Whereas self tapes, 300. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Yeah.
a different, you have so many more opportunities. Please stop saying, oh, I can't wait to get back in the room. All I want is that human touch. You're not really getting it. So please remember that we're growing, we are changing, the business is changing. Please just love the self tapes, learn how to audition in that way, and and acknowledge that this is where we are. And for the most part, I don't believe it's going to change.
Rose, you have been responsible for some really big movies, some unscripted, some scripted, some reality shows, commercials, etc. Um, Bridezillas, Snowbirds, I think extreme weight loss, right? So
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
crazy stuff, right? A mix of different things where you're looking at actors and then you're possibly maybe looking for real people for like your reality shows. So are
Sure.
you turning to social media at all? Are you even navigating that whole platform, or you don't care who comes into audition for you?
Of course I care who comes into audition for me. Um, but am I casting on social media? Very rarely. I mean, if I need a 7 foot tall guy with size 15 shoes, I'm going to look everywhere, including my Instagram. My Instagram is my gift to actors.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I give as much as I can to you guys. And, and once again, I just want you guys to understand the business from casting's viewpoint so that we can work together. And because we're all tiny little islands all over the world, we don't know. Nobody knows what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so it's like, here, I'm going to let you know. You want to know? I'm telling you. And so that's what my Instagram is for and what have you. And, go there, follow that, the podcast and God bless.
But
And tell me what you want to hear. I am happy
right,
to answer anything. I am
right.
an open book.
But I am finding that you are seeing a lot more TikTok personalities, YouTube personalities, anybody who has a really huge following on social media getting opportunities to either cover red carpets or be in commercials or audition for roles because of the fact that they have these huge followings. Does that matter? Well, that's what I meant about does it matter or do you care? Does that play into any type of roles that you might be casting for because people are very popular on social media?
So mostly not the stuff that I do. I
No,
mean, yeah, I occasionally, if I
no,
am casting an independent film, they'd like somebody with bigger following so that when they, are promoting that movie, that's a little bit of an angle they can use.
right, right.
But that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Other than that, I am not the casting director looking for the TikTok stars. I'm just
Okay.
not.
No,
But
that's
I know people who do,
right. Right. Because again, the industry has changed so much, right? And
Mm.
there's all kinds of talent out there. So I'm just wondering how you go about casting for certain roles and for certain series, unscripted or scripted. Can I also talk about the push for inclusion and diversity? How has that changed the whole casting process for you?
I mean, what a great world we're in now when it comes to
Yeah.
inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
At the next episode of Casting Confidential, we're going to talk with Danielle Pretzfelder Demchick, who is our VP of Advocacy at the CSA, about this very topic. She's incredible. So please tune into that. It'll be Monday. But I mean, we have everything. The world is our oyster now. When I started this business, you had to look classically beautiful, classically thin,
Mm.
classically, everything had to be the way, like this is what you look for. You
Yeah.
look for aspirational, you know, but now it's, we put in men for women, and, and huge push towards authenticity. Um, I'm an out and proud Jew. Uh, and so like I talk a lot about Jewish inclusion and that we have to do authentic Jewish casting, authentic lesbian, like everything as authentic as possible. If you're casting somebody on the neurodiversity scale,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Yeah.
So that all that being said, it's complicated too, right?
Sure.
And so like and I don't mean to make this comparison, but when we're talking about TikTok stars and using them as actors, it's like they're not actors, right? So also sometimes when we're looking for people out of the standard whatever, uh, are they actors? Are they trained actors? So it may be just more difficult to work with them. I mean, I like a trained actor just because they know what to expect, right? It's just a little easier of a job. But then if you have a great director, then they can work with anybody that's interested and can, work and do the work, if that makes sense. I know that was a little around the block, but
No,
I
that does.
think
Okay. That makes total sense. I'm going to go to a
good.
Q&A because we do have a lot of
Okay.
questions coming in, and I want to
Good.
get some of them in. I was just reading through it. Okay, a lot of people are saying They have the question of, do you actually see the tapes from beginning to end, from the slate to the end of the audition once they're submitted to you? Do you watch all of them?
And just like they want to be in the room, this is all. This is also a very big question that we get. Like people they think we're lazy. Literally, they call in casting lazy. Oh, you don't look at them. You're sitting in your pajamas. You're watching. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you all sound that way, but it hurts us because we work so hard, and
Yeah.
yeah, we watch every tape. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If I'm in a quick turnaround for a commercial or something, I might give my client the first 100.
Oh,
And guess what? He might pick from that. And that second 100 might be a non starter, even though you're in time and on deadline. I'm just telling you the truth because when we're just doing work, we're all just trying to, you know, satisfy the person that's paying the bill, right? And like, can I see some? Because they have only so much time. I have only so much time. So I look at this many and I'm like, okay, I'll pass these over to you. And then you'll have the next one, the next 100. But they're like, Rose, I like these guys. I'm
yeah.
done. I'm not going to spend any more time. So that the note is get in early, do it well.
Noted. Anna's a bit confused by your meaning of get the scene right. She would like to know when you say that, she's often heard that showing you have cinematic technique is more important than getting the words right. So she's confused. What matters more?
Both.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to see you act well. I mean, in a commercial, I think you need to hit every word.
Yeah.
Um, in a, I mean, you got it. Know what you're doing. If you're reading Aaron Sorkin and you don't hit every word, you will not get the job.
Mm,
Uh, you've got to do your research. You have to know what you're reading.
yeah.
And once you know that, and like if you're auditioning for a series and you have no idea um uh, what that series is about, if you haven't watched a few of them, what are you doing?
Mm,
You know, don't just shoot in the dark.
yeah.
Use if you're going to be in this business, use all your tools.
Yes. Yeah. I love the fact that we're getting to know you and what you like and what you know about the industry. Here in Canada, it's not so common for actors to get managers, but do you think it's important for actors nationwide to have a manager just obviously looking out for their careers?
I don't. I think it's another bill to pay, basically, right? So you're paying more percentage out. I think get with a team that you understand and they understand you, and we're working together. And if you're not getting that, move along.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Have a manager, no agent. Have an agent, no man. Whatever. I don't care. But I think at a certain level, talent agent is the way to go. I think I know a lot of the newer, some people do get a manager and then get an agent. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I put out to all the agents. I don't know that I always put out to all the managers every single time.
Got it. When you are seeing talent, are you noticing that we are still booking the traditional actors who have the background, who've gone to the schooling, who've gone to the training, or are we giving opportunities more to maybe some like raw, natural talent?
I think we definitely give more opportunities now because 60 in the room in one day cost them a lot of money, right? When we were in the room, 300 is what they get for what they used to get 60, sometimes more, uh, for self tapes. So I am able to take a chance on new talent, whereas I had no room to take a chance with in the room, zero room, because there's always a trained actor.
Yeah.
somebody I know, you know, that
Yeah.
is, you know, responsible. Now, what does it cost me?
Right. Right. Anna has a question. I know that you love the software and the whole audition process. You were giving us some tips, but she wants to know, how polished do self tapes need to be? I understand the importance of lighting, but what about makeup and wardrobe? Are you very does that matter to you if the wardrobe or the makeup is off? Will that kind of discourage you from casting somebody if they didn't get the entire thing right?
I mean, I can't speak to subconscious, right? You know, I former makeup artist, stylist, so I'm gonna notice things.
Yeah.
But I'm yeah, once again, if your read is fantastic, it is. You know, that stands on its own merit. So eh, per part, per role, whatever it is, you know, think about what that character would do.
Okay.
And, you know, a little makeup goes a long way, just in my feeling.
Yeah. The lighting is always key all the time.
Lighting, yeah, if I
Lighting.
can't see you or hear you, then we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. Got it. When you are interested in an actor, do you go a little more and research that person? Like, do you go and check out their websites? And if you do, what are you looking for specifically? This is a question coming from Deanna.
Honestly, not that much. I go for the read. Like first, on the first end, if I see, you know, in the program, you see your headshot and your resume, it's all there for me and my client. So I can choose you. But once I've chosen you and then you come in with a great read, I'm not spending my time on, any further. I'm passing you along, you know. I mean, we got a lot to do.
Yeah.
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 You know, beautiful websites are great. And I know a lot of casting directors who spend some time on websites. I like to be within the software. I don't like to jump out. I like the fact that you guys have you know, each actor has a website in your software, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole thing about like if in other software where you have to click and then the website is there and I can, you know what I mean? It's that whole, I'm just working with, I like a flow so I don't get confused. It's just, I just like to, you know, be in my space and it's a lot what we do, right? And for me, I've always been, okay, you know, like 1, 2, 3. And so if I'm taken over here, then I go down this rabbit hole. It's just like a bad, you know, Instagram moment
Right.
of, you know, and 2 hours later, it's like, I don't have that kind of time. I've got to look at these 100 people for the casting or 1,000 people.
So,
Anyway, that was a long answer too. I'm probably not going to click on
okay. All
your
right.
website.
And I'm going to take one more question. That's from Samantha, who's just starting out. So she's new to the game.
Okay.
She's a young woman taking classes. She's working on some non-union projects, but she hasn't heard back from any agencies yet. So I think she's getting a little discouraged. What advice would you give to young actors starting out?
Keep at it. You're doing all the greatest things, right? You're taking classes, you're reaching out to agents. Keep reaching out. You know, you're going to be growing and changing. Make sure your headshots are good. Do some student projects. You know, keep adding to your resume if you're doing student projects, little things. You know, you've got a camera in your hand every single day. Keep working. Keep working.
Yeah. Keep working. And Lambros, one more question. Would you give preference to an actor with an agent over one without an agent?
Well, it's not so much preference, but I'm going to tell you that 90% of the casting calls I put out are just to the agents. I don't mess around with the public boards that much. Once again, it helps me because, right? Because agents are another filter. Once again, too much information for me is too much. We've cleared that. Uh, so, so the agents I know, you know, and I even throttle agents, you know, because agents will overwhelm me. So I say, listen, give me your top 3 choices, give me your top 10 choices, whatever that is. And that way, you know, we're whittling that down. I do not want to see a board of 1,000 people and then I have to whittle that down to 100. Imagine what that takes.
Yeah. Takes a lot of work. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's not even work. It's just like overwhelming. It's like, how do you even approach that? Like, these are ridiculous numbers. Some of my friends, like, God bless, they're like, they'll post up on Instagram. They have, 5,000 submissions. I'm like, what kind of psycho is that? What are you doing? What I like to filter before they come to me, right? And then filter it down. Like, anyway. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of my stuff all that public. And I'm sorry, but there are so many talent agents out there. Please, please just keep applying to all of them and you will find your one. And I do think that's the way to go if you're serious about being an actor.
I love the whole honesty in this whole interview. So I want you to be even more honest and tell us what do you think, obviously, because you've been at this for a while and you know a lot about it. So what do you think the industry has to do if they're in order to change and like make changes for the good? Because it's not perfect right now. So what do you think the steps are that we need to take in order to make some improvement?
I really think um, if we really embrace the working together aspect of all of this, um, that's what I've done, with, my motley crew of casting directors. We used to be so, we didn't work together. We were working against each other. This is my turf. This is and now I'm like, kumbaya. We are all together. And I want everybody, I want us to make more communities and feel more together than against each other. Right.
Yeah, this is the reason why we have the working actor because we want to grow the community. We want the community to
Yes.
know that we're all here together. We're helping each other out. We're talking to people like you who are giving us valuable insight and honest insight, which I love. And you have your casting confidential, which I think is such a great idea because you're talking with other casting directors. And I think all of us would want to be in a room listening to what casting directors have to say. And when you're amongst yourselves, I'm sure you guys really let go and be honest about what's going on.
It's not different on the show. I promise you. We are very raw, very unfiltered. And that is exactly the whole fly on the wall thing. There's nothing like it that I've seen out in the world of podcasts or YouTube or any of that. And it's a good group, and we have great conversations. This season, Vicky Thomas, she's cast the morning show,
I love it.
and I mean everything. Look her up. She
Yeah.
did Edward Scissorhands with me way back in the day. I did it with her. Like she cast the majors, I did the day players. And yeah, so she everything from the morning show to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to I think
Amazing.
Fences, yeah, Hidden. I mean, she's one of the busiest and most respected, and one of the greatest careers in Hollywood of all time. So I'm really excited. She said she'll come on, so we're going to have that this season, and we have Danielle, and so it's just casting directors talking about the business, and not just talking about our careers. Trust me, that's not what we do here. We just sit around and chit chat about how and why we cast this and what is our thinking about whatever subject we're tackling that day. And
I was always curious though, I'm sure when you are talking amongst yourselves, are you specifically maybe talking about a particular actor or someone that you had auditioned and saying, oh my goodness, this guy or girl is going to be a star, or I wish I cast, Tom Cruise for this because he would have been great. Like, do you exchange your notes a bit on who you're working with or the talent that's out there?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
who's on your,
we have like private Facebook groups that we like,
yeah.
and we do everything. Like, yeah, we also say, so hey, we will share a picture and a link and say so and so is $1,500 away from making their insurance. If you have something to give them, now's the time.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we've done that first. decades.
I mean, that's the conversation that I'd like to listen in on because I think that's amazing. So, who's on your radar right now that you really are like, that person is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, like Divine Joy Randolph was on my radar, and now she's won an Oscar. I'm crazy about her, but I've been watching her, and she's amazing. And Lamorne Morris is, I mean, these are not overnight stars,
Yeah.
but but I'm crazy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, who's the next breakout star? I don't like to give those notes that.
No worries. No worries. Well, I guess we're just going to have to tune into Casting Confidential. Maybe you'll reveal it there. How about
You
that?
never know. You
You
never
never know.
know.
You never know.
We got lots of nuggets, I promise you. Yeah.
Rose, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on The Working Actor again. We'd love to have you back anytime because you're always a breath of fresh air and you're honest and we love your insight. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. What a treat it's been to be with you. And well, you guys know that I'm crazy about your software. So and
I know.
it gets better and better. Let's also say that, like, the support team is always great, but the software just every day, new great buttons. So thank you.
Oh, well, I can't take
Yeah.
that credit because that's all the people behind the
Casting
scenes.
workbook.
Casting
Yeah, I know. That
workbook and
thank you to the
yeah, that's
casting workbook people. Let's say it that way.
for
But yeah.
sure. And I'd like to say thank you to Emily, who's our producer who puts this all together. She's amazing. So, and I'd like to say thanks to everybody else who's tuning in. I was really awesome to see people from Panama and Peru and London and Canada, my hometown in the United States. So thanks so much. This will be up online if you want to tune in and rewatch it because Rose said amazing stuff. And remember, she gave us a lot of tips. Don't handshake and don't reach out to her by email. But you can follow her on Instagram and on her socials, and you could tune into her podcast where she talks to other casting directors. They get in on the nitty gritty about the industry. It's called Casting Confidential, so don't miss it. And we really, really love the fact that you gave us your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you.